Jordan Belfort didn't outsmart Wall Street, he just called strangers on the phone and lied to them. That's it. That's the whole scam. And somehow it made him $200 million. dollars. You've probably seen the movie Leonardo DiCaprio throwing money around, sinking yachts, giving speeches while high out of his mind. Great film. Terrible education. Because here's what that movie never actually explains. What did Jordan Belfort do? Like, specifically, what was the crime? Most people who've watched it 3 times still couldn't tell you. So let's fix that. I'm going to explain the Wolf of Wall Street scam so simply that a 5-year-old could understand it. And by the end, you'll know something most adults don't. Why he's still getting away with it. Right now. Today. Here's the thing about Jordan Belfort. The movie turned him into this larger-than-life figure. A financial genius. A master of the universe who bent Wall Street to his will through sheer force of personality. That's the myth. The reality is a lot less impressive and a lot more infuriating. Jordan Belfort wasn't a financial genius. He wasn't even particularly good with money. What he was good at was talking. Specifically, he was good at convincing people to do things that weren't in their best interest. That's it. That's the superpower. The scam he ran wasn't some sophisticated scheme that required an MBA to understand. It wasn't complex derivatives or algorithmic trading or anything that would make your eyes glaze over. It was shockingly, almost insultingly simple. Buy cheap garbage, lie about it, sell it for more than it's worth, disappear before anyone figures out what happened. That's the whole thing. Everything else, the yachts, the helicopters, the parties, that was just what he did with the money after he stole it. The actual crime, it was basically a playground scam scaled up to $200 million. dollars. And the wildest part, he targeted regular people. Teachers, retirees, small business owners, people who picked up their phones and trusted the voice on the other end. But before any of that, before Stratton Oakmont and the private jets and the FBI investigation, there was a truck full of rotting meat. And that failure is where the wolf was actually born. In his mid-20s, Jordan Belfort started a business selling meat and seafood door to door, literally driving around Long Island with a refrigerated truck, knocking on doors, trying to convince housewives to buy steaks from some guy who showed up unannounced. It didn't go well. The business collapsed. He ended up filing for bankruptcy at 26 years old, by most measures, a complete failure. But Belfort took something away from that experience, and this is crucial to understanding what came next. He learned that the product doesn't matter, the quality doesn't matter, the value doesn't matter. Only the pitch matters. Think about that for a second. He's selling steaks out of a truck. The steaks are fine, probably, but nobody needs a stranger showing up with meat they didn't ask for. So how do you make that sale? You don't sell the steak. You sell the story. You sell the urgency. You sell the fear of missing out. You make them feel like saying no would be a mistake. That's what he learned. And when the meat business failed, he went looking for something else to sell, something with even higher margins, something where the gap between what you pay and what you can charge is enormous. He found stocks. Specifically, he found a very particular kind of stock, the kind where the product is so abstract, so disconnected from reality, that the pitch is literally the only thing that matters. Now, to understand what comes next, we need to make sure you actually understand what stocks are. Because if you don't, the scam won't make sense. A stock is a tiny piece of a company. That's it. When you buy a stock, you're buying a small slice of ownership in a business. Imagine a pizza cut into 1,000,000 slices. If you buy one slice, you own 1/1,000,000th of that pizza. If the pizza becomes really popular and everyone wants it, your slice becomes more valuable. You could sell it for more than you paid. If nobody wants the pizza, your slice becomes worthless. Stocks work the same way. Buy a piece of Apple, and if Apple does well, your piece is worth more. If Apple somehow fails, your piece is worth less. This is completely legitimate. This is how business works. Companies need money to grow, so they sell pieces of themselves to investors. Investors hope the company succeeds, so their pieces become valuable. Everyone's incentives are aligned. Real stockbrokers help regular people buy pieces of good companies. They research which companies are healthy, which ones have good leadership, which ones are likely to grow. They charge a fee for this service, and if they're honest, they earn that fee by helping you make good decisions. The system works when everyone's honest. The key phrase there is when everyone's honest. Because Jordan Belfort wasn't selling pieces of real companies. He wasn't helping anyone make good decisions. He was selling something else entirely, something most legitimate brokers won't touch. So there are real stocks, Apple, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, companies you've heard of, companies with actual products, actual employees, actual futures. Then there are penny stocks. Penny stocks are called that because they cost pennies. Sometimes literally, a share might cost 5 cents, or 10 cents, or 50 cents. And the reason they cost so little is because the companies behind them are barely real. We're talking about companies with names like BZZT or YU, companies that exist mostly on paper. No real products, no real revenue, sometimes no real employees. Just a legal entity that filed some paperwork somewhere. Why do these companies exist? Because as long as someone can buy and sell shares, those shares have a price. And if someone can make the price move, someone can make money. These stocks trade on something called the pink sheets, which is basically the financial equivalent of a flea market. Less regulation, less oversight, less protection for buyers. Legitimate brokers avoid penny stocks like the plague. The risk is too high, the information is too unreliable, and there's no real way to know what you're buying. But Jordan Belfort looked at penny stocks and saw something else entirely. He saw lottery tickets for a lottery he could rig. He could buy these stocks for almost nothing, pennies per share. He could buy hundreds of thousands of shares, sometimes millions, and it would barely cost him anything. Then, all he had to do was convince other people to buy them too, at much higher prices. For that, he needed a weapon, the telephone. This is where the actual scam begins. Step 1, Belfort and his inner circle secretly buy massive amounts of a penny stock. They're paying fractions of a cent per share. They might buy 1 million shares for $10,000. Nobody knows they're doing this. Step 2, his brokers start making phone calls. Hundreds of calls every single day. And these weren't normal sales calls. These were psychological operations disguised as investment advice. The script was precise. First, build trust, sound professional, reference impressive sounding credentials, mention big clients, successful trades, insider knowledge. Then create urgency. This opportunity won't last, the window is closing, other investors are already moving. Then apply pressure. Are you really going to miss this? Do you want to be the guy who passed on the next big thing? Your neighbor's probably already buying in. Then overcome objections. Need to think about it? There's no time. Need to talk to your spouse? They'll thank you later. Don't have the money? Start small, just a few thousand. Every single objection had a counter. The brokers were trained to never accept no. They had responses for everything. The script was a weapon. And these kids, because most of them were just kids fresh out of high school, they learned to use it. And it worked. People bought. Demand went up. Price went up. The stock that was worth a penny last week is suddenly worth $1 on paper. Everyone's making money. That's the pump. Artificial demand created entirely through lies, but the pump is only half the scam. Appreciate you sticking around. If you liked what you heard, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment. I'd love to hear your take. And if you know someone who'd enjoy this, share it with them. This is the part that destroys everyone. The price is high now. The stock that Belfort bought for a penny is trading at $1. His victims are holding their shares, watching the price climb, feeling smart about their investment. Maybe it'll go even higher. Maybe they should buy more. Meanwhile, Belfort starts selling. He sells everything. All those shares he bought for fractions of a cent, he's selling them for dollars. The profit is absurd. Buy for 10,000, sell for 1 million. That's not an exaggeration. That's how the math works. But when the biggest holder of a stock starts selling, Supply floods the market. And when supply goes up but demand doesn't, the price drops fast. The penny stock that was worth $1 yesterday is worth 50 cents today, then 20 cents, then back to a penny, then less than a penny. And this is where the victims get truly destroyed. They can't sell. Because who's going to buy? Everyone knows the stock is garbage now. There's no demand. The buy orders disappear. Your shares become worthless paper. You can't even give them away. The money is gone. Belfort has it now. He cashed out at the top, and his victims are left holding nothing. This is why it's called pump and dump. Pump up the price with lies. Dump your shares before everyone realizes what happened. Walk away rich while everyone else loses everything. He did this over and over. Hundreds of stocks, thousands of victims, all running the same playbook every time. Now let's talk about what the victims actually experienced. This is the part the movie glosses over. Your phone rings. The voice on the other end sounds professional, confident, knowledgeable. He's calling from a real brokerage firm. He mentions impressive returns, exciting opportunities, successful clients. He's not pushy at first, he's friendly, building rapport. He remembers your name, asks about your family, seems genuinely interested in your financial goals. Then he mentions an opportunity. Something special, something most people don't get access to. A small company about to break big, the kind of thing his best clients are already moving on. You're hesitant, that's normal. He expects that. He doesn't pressure you, not yet. He says, think about it, call me back, here's my direct line. He treats you like you're smart, like you're someone whose skepticism he respects. Maybe you call back. Maybe he calls you again a few days later. Either way, the relationship develops and you start to trust him. Then comes the real pitch. The window is closing. The opportunity is now. His biggest clients are in. Are you? And this is where the psychological weapons come out. If you hesitate, you're not being careful. You're being fearful. If you need to think about it, you're going to miss out while others profit. If you don't have the money, you're going to regret watching from the sidelines. The script creates artificial scarcity, only a few shares left at this price. It creates urgency. This has to happen today. It creates social proof. Everyone successful is already doing this. And it creates shame. Are you really going to be the person who says no? Most people aren't trained to resist this. Most people trust professionals. Most people want to believe there's an opportunity out there that could change their financial future. They weren't stupid, they were human. And the manipulation was precise. So Belfort is making millions, tens of millions. Eventually, over $200 million stolen from victims across the country. But you can't just deposit $200 million in illegal profits at your local bank. Someone's going to ask questions. The IRS is going to notice. The paper trail leads right back to you. You need to clean it. Make the dirty money look like it came from somewhere legitimate. This is money laundering, and honestly, Belfort's methods were almost as elaborate as the scam itself. First, shell companies. These are businesses that exist only on paper. No employees, no products, no offices. Just a legal entity with a bank account. You create a dozen of these, spread them across different states, different countries. Then you move money through them. Pay one shell company for consulting services that never happened. That company pays another for supplies that don't exist. By the time the money comes out the other end, it's been through so many transactions that tracing it back to the original crime is almost impossible. But Belfort went further. He used offshore accounts, specifically in Switzerland. Countries with famous banking secrecy laws, countries that don't ask where the money came from, countries that don't cooperate easily with American investigators, and it gets almost absurd. He used cash couriers, literally people smuggling money overseas by taping stacks of bills inside their clothes. His wife's aunt made trips to Switzerland with cash sewn into her clothing. His housekeeper became part of an international money smuggling operation. $50,000 cashier's checks run through casinos to obscure the source. Wire transfers to accounts in other people's names. A network so complex, that prosecutors eventually created a 14-foot flow chart just to visualize where all the money went. He knew exactly how guilty he was. The elaborate hiding was evidence of that. To run a scam this big, you need soldiers. Lots of them. People willing to make the calls, run the scripts, close the deals. Stratton Oakmont was the engine. On paper, it was a brokerage firm. In reality, it was a fraud factory disguised as a Wall Street success story. The office culture was designed to manufacture criminals. Imagine walking in on your first day. You're 20 years old, no college degree, no connections, no prospects, and suddenly you're in an office where guys your age are making more money in a month than your parents make in a year. There are Ferraris in the parking lot, guys in $2,000 suits screaming into phones, air horns going off every time someone closes a deal, cash bonuses paid in stacks of $100 bills. And the message is clear. This could be you. All you have to do is learn the script. Make the calls, close the deals, and don't ask questions. The top performers were treated like royalty, bonuses, parties, trips, cars. The bottom performers were humiliated publicly, screamed at in front of everyone, then fired. Fear and greed, the two most powerful motivators, working together constantly. Nobody talked about whether what they were doing was legal. Nobody talked about the people on the other end of the phone calls. The only metric that mattered was money, and the bad habits, they were everywhere. Not just for fun, for function. Some things to calm them down, make them sound smooth and trustworthy on the phone, even when they were lying through their teeth. Other things to keep them wired through hundreds of calls a day. These weren't side effects of the lifestyle. They were tools. Young people walked in looking for opportunity and walked out as criminals. Most of them didn't even realize the transformation as it happened. 1,513, that's the documented number of victims. Real people with names and families and futures that got destroyed because they answered their phone and trusted the wrong person. Let me be specific about who these people were. Teachers who saved for decades, putting aside small amounts from modest paychecks, hoping to retire with dignity. Those savings, gone. Retirees living on fixed incomes who were told this was a safe way to make their money last longer. Their security, gone. Small business owners who took a chance on an investment they were told couldn't miss. Their children's college funds, gone. These weren't Wall Street insiders gambling with money they could afford to lose. These were regular people making regular financial decisions based on lies told by people they thought were professionals. And the movie doesn't show you this. While Jordan Belfort was throwing $100 bills off his yacht, these victims were making phone calls to the brokerage trying to understand why their investments had collapsed. While he was buying mansions, they were selling theirs. While he was getting standing ovations in his office, they were explaining to their families that the money was gone and it wasn't coming back. The average victim couldn't afford lawyers to fight back. Many of them never reported the crime because they were ashamed. Ashamed that they trusted someone. Ashamed that they fell for it. Every single dollar of that glamorous lifestyle you saw in the movie was stolen directly from someone's future. Every yacht, every party, every excess. Paid for with money that belonged to teachers and retirees and regular people who made the mistake of picking up the phone. This is what the movie left out. The FBI had been watching for years. Financial crimes don't happen in a vacuum. There are always records. Wire transfers leave footprints. Real estate purchases get documented. Bank accounts, even supposedly hidden ones, eventually get discovered. The investigation built slowly. Subpoenaed documents, recorded phone calls, interviews with former employees who had their own legal problems and needed to make deals. And then the Swiss government cooperated. This was the break that made everything possible. Those offshore accounts, the ones Belfort thought were untraceable, suddenly weren't. The money trail led right back to him. The FBI laid it out. 30 years in federal prison, maximum sentence. Real time in real prison for a very long time. Or he could cooperate, wear a wire, record his conversations with his partners, his friends, the people who trusted him, testify against everyone. He took the deal. The man who built an empire on loyalty, who created a cult where everyone protected each other, who preached the importance of never turning on your team, he turned on everyone immediately to save himself. He recorded his partners. He gathered evidence against his friends. He testified in court against the people who had learned everything they knew about fraud from him. The employees who worshipped him, he sent them to prison. The partners who trusted him, he destroyed their lives. The same manipulative skills he used on his victims, he turned on the people closest to him. Everyone was expendable when his own freedom was at stake. The wolf became a rat. After everything, after $200 million stolen, after 1,500 victims, after years of systematic fraud, after destroying the lives of everyone who trusted him, Jordan Belfort was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison. He served 22 months. Let me put that in perspective for you. $200 million divided by 22 months equals about $9 million per month of prison time. That's roughly $300,000 per day. For that kind of return, crime absolutely paid. He was ordered to pay $110 million in restitution to his victims. That was the court's attempt at making things right. The victims would get their money back, except they didn't. As of the most recent reports, he's paid back less than half of what he owes. The victims, many of them now elderly, are still waiting. Some of them have died waiting. Meanwhile, Jordan Belfort wrote a book about his crimes. It became a bestseller. Hollywood made it into a movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio. It made nearly $400 million at the box office. Belfort made money from that too. He now works as a motivational speaker. He travels the world giving talks about sales techniques and success and, I'm not making this up, ethics. Companies pay him up to $100,000 per appearance. Read that again. Companies pay a convicted fraud $100,000 to talk about ethics. The man who stole $200 million from regular people now makes more per speech than most of his victims lost. He's more famous, more successful, and probably wealthier than he ever was during the actual fraud. His victims are still waiting for their money. He's selling tickets to seminars. If you're feeling angry right now, good. You should be. This is the part that should really concern you. The pump and dump scheme didn't die with Stratton Oakmont. It just changed platforms. Everything I just described. Buying cheap assets, hyping them up to uninformed buyers, selling before the crash. It's happening right now. Every single day. The cold callers have been replaced by influencers. Instead of phone scripts, there are Twitter threads and TikTok videos and Discord servers. Instead of penny stocks, there are cryptocurrencies and meme stocks and NFT projects. But the playbook is identical. Buy something cheap before anyone's heard of it. Build hype, create urgency, and make people feel like they're missing out. Then sell everything while the believers are still buying. The targets change too. Back then, it was retirees who answered their phones. Now, it's young people who spend hours scrolling social media, looking for the next big opportunity, terrified of being left behind while everyone else gets rich. When a celebrity or influencer suddenly starts promoting a cryptocurrency you've never heard of, ask yourself, did they buy it before they told you about it? Are they going to sell while you're still holding? When a meme stock explodes out of nowhere and social media is flooded with posts about how it's going to the moon, ask yourself, who benefits if I buy right now? Who already owns it? Jordan Belfort himself has commented on CryptoPump and dumps. He recognizes the playbook because it's his playbook. The technology is new. The scam is ancient. The wolf never left. He just got a smartphone. So now you know the mechanics of the scam, the psychology of the manipulation, the reality of who gets hurt and who walks away rich. The question is, what do you do with this information? Remember this. If someone is rushing you to invest in anything, they're not protecting your money. They're protecting their exit. Legitimate opportunities don't disappear in 24 hours. Urgency is almost always manufactured. If an opportunity is exclusive and limited and you're so lucky to even hear about it, ask yourself why a stranger is sharing this with you. If it were really that good, why would they need you at all? If you don't understand how an investment makes money, you are how it makes money. You're not the investor. You're the exit strategy. Excitement is not research. Confidence is not competence. Someone sounding like they know what they're talking about is not the same as them actually knowing what they're talking about. The cold call script only works on people who don't know the script exists. Now you know it exists. Jordan Belfort wasn't a wolf. He wasn't a genius. He wasn't a master of the universe. He was a telemarketer who figured out that confidence sounds exactly like competence when you're on the other end of a phone. He found people who trusted him and broke that trust over and over again for money. That's not impressive. That's not admirable. That's just a person without a conscience who got good at manipulation. Now you know the difference. Now you recognize the pattern. Now you understand what's actually happening when someone's a little too excited to help you get rich quick. Don't be the exit strategy.